Hello, beautiful. If you're new to the channel, my name is Zakia, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Today's video is super special for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm going to be sharing a couple of really nice high-end DIYs with you guys. And number two, this video is in collaboration with my friend Cindy from Inspiration by CP. Cindy and I have been supporting each other's channels since the beginning of our YouTube journeys, and she does the most beautiful tablescapes, and I love her Instagram feed. She posts the cutest things. So when you're done with my video, just head over and check hers out as well and tell her that I sent you. So I'm gonna give you guys a little sneak peek of her channel right now. So once I'm done showing you guys the DIYs, I'm going to show you how I style them as I decorate my dining room table for Christmas. Let's get started. A few weeks ago, I took you guys on a tour of a store called Our House, which is a high-end decor and furniture store, and they describe their aesthetic as Nordic boho. I feel like their store and their decor really embodies organic luxury, and I was particularly inspired by this installation. I thought it was so beautiful. I love the organic nature and quality of it, and it's never really left my mind. I ordered these faux pampas grass stems from Amazon a few months ago, and I have kept in the back of my mind that I really wanted to do something special with them. So I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to create this sort of modern take on a winter wonderland. I really love the ivory color of these and the really flowy, fluffy texture. It's really very beautiful, and you don't have to worry about all of the shedding that you have to worry about with real pampas grass. For our first DIY, we are going to create a really organic, Our House inspired Christmas tree. We're going to start with a 7/16 inch dowel that I got at Home Depot. And we're going to be making two trees. The first tree is going to be a two-tiered tree. So it is going to be taller than the second tree. And what you see me doing now is just measuring out the length of the dowel. We are going to anchor our tree in this terracotta pot that I also got at Home Depot. It was $1.98, and I'm going to link as many things as possible for you guys down in the description box, just to make it easy for you guys to find everything that I'm using here today. In order to determine where we're going to cut our dowel, we have to take into account the depth of the pot as well, and you can see that I'm doing that here, and I'm just marking off where I'm going to make my cut. I made my cuts on a miter saw, but you could really just use a hand saw because this wood is not very thick, so it wouldn't take very long. After I cut my wood, I lined up my pampas grass where I wanted the layers to be, and I marked off where I wanted my bottom layer to start so that I would know where to glue. I'm using a hot glue gun with Gorilla glue sticks so that it does create a nice, tight, permanent bond. There are 6 of these pampas grass stems per package of stems if you use the stems that I used from Amazon. So I needed to figure out the spacing of exactly where to glue the stems on the dowel, just so it would be evenly spaced and give a really uniform appearance. And as you can see, after I have glued the stem on, I held it for a few seconds just to make sure that it wasn't going to go anywhere. And you want to be pretty generous with the glue here, just to ensure that there is going to be enough to create that bond. And once again, very importantly, holding the stem in place until the glue is cool, just to ensure that adequate bonding. And as you can see here, I am just holding the stem up to the dowel and making sure that all of the stems are going to be properly placed so that they are even around the dowel. And I'm just repeating this process until all 6 of the stems on the lower tier of our tree are placed. I made sure to line up the stems as evenly as possible because even though we are calling this a DIY, in some ways I like to think of these pieces more so as custom pieces. This isn't necessarily the cheapest project that you could create, but it is definitely cheaper than buying a piece like this at a high-end store like our house. I really do want this piece to last, and I really do want it to have a really nice, rich, handmade quality to it. So I really wanted to pay attention to the details. I knew that I wanted to embellish the tree with bells that I ordered from Amazon. They are small little golden bells. So I tied this jute string that I got from Dollar Tree around the bunch of stems, and I just hot glued it so that it would stay in place. When I finished constructing the tree, I did decide not to use this string, and you'll see how I embellished the tree a little bit later on, but I just wanted to show you guys the process just in case you decided you wanted to do that for yourself. We're going to move on to the top tier, and on this tier the spacing of the stems is crucial because you will see everything on this tier. So what I did was first I glued on the first stem, and I'm only placing the glue about 1 inch onto that stem because I wanted these stems to meet in a point at the top of our tree. So I had to somewhat angle the stem towards the top of the dowel so that the stems would all meet in a point at the top of the tree. And you can see what I'm talking about a little bit more clearly in this clip. As you can see, I'm sort of squeezing the tip of those 2 stems together, and it's kind of putting them at an angle. And that's another reason why you have to make sure you use enough hot glue, because it has to be enough to fill that gap that's going to be created by that diagonal slant. And I really hope that this makes sense, because I would love for you guys to be able to try this, because it did turn out so beautifully and it's such a great piece for Christmas and beyond. So here I'm just finishing up that top tier and the point of our tree, and as you can see, it turned out really nicely. And I'm using that same jute twine from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to tie it around and wrap it around a few times. And the reason for this is twofold. It's just adding another layer of security to keep those stems on. And I also wanted to embellish this tier of the tree with those gold bells from Amazon. So I thought that it would be really pretty to hang them on the jute twine here and get a really, really beautiful look. So I tied the twine on as tightly as I could, and I wrapped it around several times. I really wanted this wrapping to look intentional and deliberate so that it would really look like an actual design feature of the tree. So I hot glued the jute twine down, and then I sort of pulled it through the top of the stems just to make sure that everything was really secure. And this step was out of the frame, so I do apologize, but I sort of just pulled it through the top of those stems and pulled it down. If you get in close, you can see what I mean. When I cut the twine, I did let it stay relatively long just so I could make sure I had enough twine to attach my bells. The next step was preparing our pots. Terracotta pots like this have holes in the bottom, so I decided to fill the holes with hot glue and let that dry completely before adding quick set concrete mix. Make sure that you have proper ventilation for this step in the process. And although I'm sharing with you how I did this, make sure that you read the instructions on your bag of concrete just to ensure that you're doing it properly. So I filled the pot up to about 1 inch away from the top of the pot. I stuck the tree into the dry concrete mix and held it in position. First, I figured out where the center of the pot was. That's very important to have that before you start adding liquid. And then I added enough liquid to saturate the concrete mix. Now, this is a terracotta pot, so it is porous, so I knew that any excess moisture would come out. If you are using a container that is not porous, then you may have to play around with things a little bit. And surprisingly enough, I only needed to hold the tree in place for about 3 or 4 minutes after I added the water to the concrete mix, and I was able to leave it in place by itself. The concrete was set enough at that point. But I didn't handle or move the trees or the pots for at least 2 hours after adding the water to the concrete mix. For the second tree, I only wanted to do a single tier tree, but I followed all of the steps that I used in the first tree. Again, paying close attention to the spacing of the stems on the dowel. And I followed the same process for the pot, filling the hole with hot glue, adding the quick set concrete mix and adding the tree to that, and then just adding the water and holding the tree still for about 3 or 4 minutes. So I let the trees dry in the pots where they were overnight without touching them or handling them. And this is what this single tier tree looks like the next day. I wanted to go a step further and paint these pots ivory. I just used chalk paint because I wanted a stone or pottery type of finish. Painting the pots was a really easy, really straightforward process. I literally just painted it in any way that I wanted to. There was really no sort of rhyme or reason for the way I painted it. I personally don't mind brush strokes in my chalk paint for something like this, so I just painted it really casually. I did decide to paint that inside top 1 inch of the pot just to give it a more polished and a more finished look. Then it was time to embellish the trees with our bells that I got from Amazon. And these bells are so cute. They are made in India, so they have that really pretty artisan quality that I love. And here I'm just attaching the bell to the twine, and I'm not doing anything special, just tying a basic knot, but I'm tying it twice just to make sure that the bell is secure. And then I just go in with my scissors and cut the excess twine off. Adding these bells was really simple and straightforward, but I feel like it elevated these trees so much and just made them so much prettier. And the final step with putting together these trees was just adding a little bit of faux snow at the base of the trees. I was really happy with the way the trees turned out. They had that sort of whimsical, organic, magical feel that I had envisioned for them. And I added 2 bells on the top tier of the double tiered tree. I thought that it could use a little bit something extra. These trees are so magical to me. I feel like the texture and the color is just so inviting and just feels so special. At some point, I may take the pots a step further and give them a more aged look, just so that they look a little bit richer. We're gonna move on to our second DIY now, which is gonna be a hand-printed pillow cover. For the pillow cover, I will be using the IKEA Aina pillow, and I will link it down below in the description box. I am using this particular pillow cover because it is linen and it matches my decor, but you can feel free to use any pillow cover that you like that is a natural fiber. Normally, I would go into Photoshop and create a design and print it out and use that as my template, but I am out of toner, so I couldn't do that, but I will create a design for you guys and I will post it on my blog, and I will leave a link for it down in the description box so that you can use that design as your template. To print our pillows, we're going to be using this really inexpensive craft foam to create a stamp, and you're going to want to get the 6mm thickness. Lightly apply glue stick to the back of your template and smooth it onto your foam so that you can trace your template, and then you'll cut that out, and that is going to serve as your stamp. You can cut out the stamp shape with scissors, or you can use a utility knife or a craft knife. I'm using a craft knife here, and I'm just cutting it on a piece of wood so that I don't damage my table. I cut out another piece of foam that is slightly larger than our stamp shape, and this is what we're going to mount the shape to, and it's sort of going to be our stamp block. And I just hot glued the back of our shape to the stamp block, and there we have our stamp. I kept this project very, very casual, and I wasn't aiming for perfection in any way, shape, or form with this. So I just used regular acrylic paint and I just brushed it lightly onto the stamp. You just don't want to have too much paint on your stamp. It can create a sort of messier look, although you will see at some point that I do actually get excess paint on the pillow cover, but I don't think that it really affected the outcome in a negative way just because of the nature of this type of project. Before you start, you are going to want to wash and iron your pillow cover so that it can accept the paint properly. And you need to place a piece of cardboard or something thick between the layers of the pillow so the paint doesn't seep through. I taped off the pillowcase every 4 inches with painter's tape just to kind of serve as a guide for where I wanted to print. I used a brayer, which is the rolling instrument you see me using, but you definitely don't need that. You could use a rolling pin, or you could just use your hand and make sure that you press as evenly as you can. And you want to reload your paint between each print. And try to reload your paint onto the stamp with the same thickness each time, because as you can see here, my very first print is not as thick and as clear as the other prints. As you can see here, I'm staggering the placement of the stars. Where there is a space between 2 stars, I'm printing a star underneath that in each row. And as you can see here, there is excess paint in some of the areas of the pillow, but I promise you that is not going to negatively affect the look of the pillow, and you'll see exactly how it turned out later on in the video. Right now, I'm gonna start decorating my dining room, and you're gonna see how I styled those trees, and you're gonna see how I styled the pillow. And these are some of the other things that I'm gonna be using to decorate with today. Some of these things I already had, and a couple of these things are new. I chose the things I chose because I really wanted to create that Nordic boho feel with the organic luxury theme to it. And I know that's a mouthful, but those are all of the things I was thinking when I was going to put this decor together. All of these gold chargers you see here are thrifted, and I really like to mix things from the thrift store, from places like Target, from Pottery Barn, Crate & Barrel, and really just pull decor and inspiration from a lot of different places. And as much as I don't really care for it, I had to start this project with ironing because I was using a linen table runner, and if you're familiar with linen, it gets wrinkly very easy. Right now I'm just placing our trees on the table, and I have some other bottle brush trees that I got at Target, and I really like these little trees because they are pre-lit. I also really like the ivory color, and I like the wooden base. And even though we are going with organic, we are still going for a luxury feel. So I definitely wanted to bring in these gold pieces, which I think look very nice and very rich and very luxurious. I'm using these stoneware plates that I use very often from Pottery Barn. I absolutely love these plates. They are amazing quality and they are beautiful. And I will link them down in the description box because they are absolutely gorgeous. And I'm just using my basic gold flatware from Target. I actually really do want another set of gold flatware. I want something a little bit richer and a little bit more luxurious. So if you guys have any idea of something that you think that I might like, let me know down in the comments section and I would love to check it out. Here I am just putting my Crate and Barrel cedar garland into this gold bowl, and I really thought that this was a pretty touch to bring some color to the table as well as that outdoorsy Nordic feeling. I also added a few cedar stems to the center of the arrangement. And today I did something really special. I ironed the napkins just for you guys. So you know I was really feeling fancy. But touches like that really make a big difference because everything just looked so crisp and so perfect. And right now I'm just adding a few ornaments to the table in this beautiful metallic bronze color, and that is just to add a little bit of a festive quality to the tablescape. I'm also going to be using some of this driftwood that we have collected over the years, and I bought a couple more pieces from Hobby Lobby just in case I needed more, but I didn't really end up needing any more. I clipped a few small pieces off of some of the stems to use for my place settings, and I also used this twine from Dollar Tree to create the place settings. I just tied the twine around the greenery and the driftwood and wrapped the twine around a few times and then tied it off with a double knot and snipped off the excess ends, and voila. You know, even watching this back right now and seeing how beautifully this turned out is so exciting for me. I really I get just excited and really moved by being around beautiful things and seeing beautiful decor in my home. And I know I cannot be the only one who feels like that. Let me know down in the comments, what does it mean to you to be surrounded by beauty in your environment and in your home? Like, how does that make you feel? Because it makes me feel so good. It also makes me feel really good to be here with you guys every week, creating content that I hope that you guys find useful and entertaining. So if you do enjoy this content, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We would love to have you as a part of our community. So I just want to give you a heartfelt thank you so much for being here. Now that the table is finished, I'm going to give you guys a good look at it and let you see how it turned out. So for now, just enjoy the music while you take a look at the dining room reveal.
When everything is white, glimmering silver white, and stillness fills the night, it's Christmas, a winter wonderland, a snowball in each hand. Take me away, Christmas Day. There's joy in the air, family's near. We give thanks for this past year. Oh, nothing compares to the love that we share. Oh, what a bliss. A green red delight with glimmering silver wine. You dazzle us all from big to small. Warm laughter and white smiles, rare presents stacked in piles. Take me away, Christmas Day. There's joy in the air, family's near. We give thanks for this past year.